Hello students, welcome to JCE Connect. Subject Groundwater and Hydraulics 17 CV 742. In previous class we have discussed the vertical distribution of groundwater. That is, the groundwater occurs in two zones mainly, the zone of aeration at the top and at the bottom the zone of saturation. And in that we have seen how the vertical distribution of groundwater occurs. Now in today's class we'll discuss what are aquifers, different types of aquifers. So aquifer, it is in the figure you can see there is a groundwater shown. So aquifer, it is a word which is derived from Latin word. The meaning of this is the water bearer. Water bearer means which holds the water, that is called as the water bearer. So here you can see the aquifer means the permeable or the strata which holds water or which is capable of yielding sufficient quantity of water, that is called as the aquifer. Okay. So how you will define aquifer is an aquifer is a large body of permeable material where the groundwater is present in the saturated zone. So yesterday we had discussed what is saturated zone or zone of saturation. So that is the zone which is present here, that is called as zone of saturation. So whatever water is available in the saturated zone, that we call it as groundwater. So what is an aquifer is? The aquifer is a large body of permeable material where the groundwater is present in the saturated zone, that is called as an aquifer. Next, it is a geological formation that is water bearing or it is saturated with the water and which is capable of yielding sufficient quantity of water for exploitation. So whenever you want to extract the groundwater, the aquifer, if it is an aquifer, it will yield sufficient quantity of water when you start the extraction of water. So that is called as an aquifer. It is a geological formation that is water bearing, means there is a water present in it, or you can call it as it is saturated with water and it should be capable of yielding sufficient quantity of water for exploitation. So this aquifer serves as a transmission conduit from the storage reservoir, means it acts as a transmission conduit or a way from which the water transmits from the storage reservoir to the underground. So it transports the water from recharge area to the surface bodies of water and other collecting devices. So here there is a transmission of water, there is a continuous flow of groundwater. So what are good aquifers are? The good aquifers are those with high permeability such as poorly cemented sand, gravels and sandstones, or highly fractured rocks. These are all the examples for good aquifers. So why they called as good aquifers? as I told you the definition, it should hold the water should be present in it, then only we call it as a aquifer. So good aquifers with high permeability, which has high permeability, means it will have the ability to hold the water as well as to transmit the water, that is called as permeability. Such as poorly cemented sand is little sand, but it should be poorly cemented. Cemented means the pores get filled, but if it is poorly cemented, there will be pores present in it, or the gravel, the size of the gravel is bigger, right? And sandstones, they are also made up of sand, or highly fractured rock. So if there are cracks or fractures present in the rock, such rocks like basalts with joints or granites with joints, they also serve as a good aquifers. So these are all the examples for aquifers. Then the large aquifers can be excellent source of water for human usage. Like big aquifers or large aquifers, they will yield will be more in such aquifers. So these aquifers, they yield a good amount of water, good quantity of water. So these are the excellent sources of water for human usage. Next we'll see what are the types of aquifers. So there are mainly two types of aquifers. One is unconfined aquifer and other one is confined aquifer. So there are two types of aquifers. One is unconfined and other one is confined aquifer. So there is one more type under unconfined, that is called as perched aquifer, and one more type of confined aquifer is Artian aquifer. So confined and unconfined, these are the two main types of aquifers, and perched aquifer is a type of unconfined aquifer and Artian aquifer is a confined aquifer. So we'll see in detail one by one. So first let us understand what is confined aquifer. So unconfined aquifer. So unconfined means there is no pressure on the water. So if the aquifer is exposed to the atmosphere, you can see in the figure, right? The water which is present here in the aquifer, that is open to the atmosphere or free to the atmosphere, then it is called as the, here you can see this portion, there is no confining layer on the top, right? It is open to the atmosphere, so it is called as unconfined aquifer. So if the aquifer is exposed to the atmosphere or it possesses a free surface which is open to the atmosphere, then it is termed as unconfined aquifer. There is no confining pressure, so it is called as unconfined, open to the atmosphere or exposed to the atmosphere. Such aquifer is called as unconfined aquifer. So in unconfined aquifer, there will be a water table. In an unconfined aquifer, there will be a water table present in it. So you can see the top layer where the water is present, right? So here so this is the top layer, that is called as the water table. So in an unconfined aquifer, there will be water table. So it is sometimes called as water table aquifer. Why it is called as water table aquifer is, there is a water table present in unconfined aquifer. So sometimes it is called as water table aquifer. There is one more term called phreatic aquifer. So the term phreatic aquifer is also frequently applied to denote the unconfined aquifer because it occurs in the phreatic zone. So the water which is present here, that is in the phreatic zone, so it is called as phreatic aquifer also. Then the unconfined aquifers, usually they receive recharge water directly from the surface, okay, because it is open to the atmosphere, very near to the surface. Whatever water it is coming into the unconfined aquifer, that is all derived from the surface water, that is from the precipitation or from a body of surface water, that is it may be a river or a stream or a lake. So all these are the sources of unconfined aquifer, you can say, right? So from where the water comes in an unconfined aquifer is either precipitated water or the water from the surface water body, that is a river or a stream or a lake, so which is in hydraulic connection with the aquifer, that is called as an unconfined aquifer. So I hope you have understood what is unconfined aquifer. So the aquifer which is exposed to the atmosphere or it possesses a free surface which is open to the atmosphere, that is termed as an unconfined aquifer. Now let us discuss what is the type of unconfined aquifer, that is a perched aquifer. So perched aquifer, here you can see in the image there is a impermeable layer in an unconfined aquifer. There is an impermeable layer of clay. Clay is a impermeable material because it is very fine grained, right? It will not allow the water to percolate very easily, so it has low permeable or it is almost impermeable rock or a layer, right? So it is a special case of unconfined aquifer, that is the perched aquifer. So that occurs whenever an impervious or a relatively impervious layer of limited horizontal area that is located between the water table and a phreatic aquifer and the ground surface. So that is called as the unconfined aquifer. So what is that? Whenever there is a impermeable layer of clay or any other material which is impermeable or impervious, and that occurs for a limited horizontal area, it is for a smaller distance or it covers a very small area, limited horizontal area, and it is located between what? The water table and the phreatic aquifer and the ground surface. So it occurs in between the water table and the ground surface. So that is called as the perched aquifer. And if you dig a well in such aquifer, here you can see there is a well in the perched aquifer. So this is a perched water bodies. These are the two perched water bodies, and if you dig a well in that, it is called as perched aquifer or perched aquifer well, right? Then if you dig a well here, you are not getting water, and if you dig a well here, obviously you will get a water. So this is the reason where we need to know what is there inside the ground very perfectly, because it is just a few meter distance wherein you have a water in this well, and here you don't have water at the same level. So that is because there is a perched aquifer present in that area. And if you dig a borewell here in the saturated zone, then you will get again the water. which is more yield you will get, but here the yield will be less but water will be present. So the water table here, the water table of this particular aquifer, that is perched aquifer, is called as perched water table. So what is perched water table? The water table of the perched aquifer, that is called as perched water table. So this is the type of unconfined aquifer, that is perched aquifer. Okay, whenever there is a small or a limited horizontal area of impervious material and if the water is present in it, then it is called as the perched aquifer. Next we'll move on to the second type of aquifer, that is confined aquifer. So as the word tells you, confined means it is held under pressure. Confining pressure, you might have heard, right? So if the water within an aquifer is confined meaning here is it is held under pressure by an overlying impervious strata, the aquifer is known as confined aquifer. So here you can see the gray color portion, right? That is a confining unit, right? You can see here there is a perched water table also, perched aquifer, perched water table well, and whatever gray color is that is what? It is a impermeable or impervious material, that is confining material, you can say. That means what? It will not allow the water to percolate down. So here you can see the confined aquifer. So how it is? It is in between the two confining layers. You can see this is one confining layer and this is another confining layer. So whatever water it is penetrating here or it is getting recharged as a groundwater, that is straight away coming into in between the two confining units. So this water will be held under pressure, so it is called as confined aquifer. So what is that? If the water within an aquifer is confined, that is it is held under pressure by the overlying impervious strata, then the aquifer is known as the confined aquifer. So the confining bed, it has a significantly lower hydraulic conductivity than that of the aquifer. So it will have low hydraulic conductivity than the confined aquifer. So here you can see what is confined aquifer. When the water in an aquifer is held under pressure, or it is like a sandwiched between two confining units or two confining layers, then that aquifer is called as confined aquifer. Next, the type of confined aquifer is your Artian aquifer. Again here you can see there is a well, right? In this confined aquifer, this is a confined aquifer, this pool is a confined aquifer, and you can see the topography here. There is a slope, so the water pressure will be more, right? Water is coming with a high speed, and as it moves here, the speed will decrease. So here, if you dig a well in such aquifer, you can see here there is a well in this aquifer. So that is what? It is a flowing Artian well. It is called as flowing Artian well. So what is the meaning of the word Artian here? So Artian aquifer is a confined aquifer which is developed in a suitable geological situations where the piezometric surface is above the groundwater level. Where, what is that? The piezometric surface is above the groundwater level. Here you can see this line is called as the piezometric surface, where the water is present up to this height. You can see here the symbol is given of water table. So the actual water table is here up to this height, right? So whatever is the height of the water up to which the water rises, that is called as the piezometric surface. So what is that Artian aquifer is? It is a confined aquifer because it is present in the confined aquifer. It is a confined aquifer developed in suitable geological situations where the piezometric surface is above the groundwater level. So here you can see this surface in this particular area is above the ground level. Here this is the ground level and your piezometric surface is above the ground level. So this type of aquifer is called as Artian aquifer. So whenever a well is dug in such aquifer, a well in such an aquifer which flows without pumping, there is no need of pumping in such aquifer, because water will automatically rise up to the piezometric surface. So you might have seen in some videos which were shared on YouTube or WhatsApp, wherein whenever you dig a well in such aquifer, the water it will continuously flow without pumping. It will come on the surface without pumping because it is held under pressure. That is the piezometric whatever is the piezometric surface, up to that height the water will flow automatically in such wells without pumping. So such aquifers are called as Artian aquifers, and a well in such aquifer is called as Artian well. So the imaginary surface to which the water rises in the well tapping the Artian aquifer is known as the piezometric surface. So this surface up to which the water rises automatically, right, that is called as, this is an imaginary surface, so that is called as the piezometric surface. So this is the Artian aquifer, which is a type of confined aquifer. So here also you can see there is one more Artian well, but it is not flowing. Why? Because this is the piezometric surface, right, and this well is above the, or the opening of this well is above the piezometric surface, right, but here it is at the bottom. So it is just Artian well, right, and here it is flowing Artian well. So this is the type of confined aquifer, that is Artian aquifer. So what we saw is what is an aquifer, which yields sufficient quantity of water, that is called as an aquifer. There are two types of aquifers, one is unconfined and other one is confined. So unconfined means the water which is free to the atmosphere, free to the surface, which is not held under pressure, that is called as unconfined aquifer. And confined aquifer is where the water is held under the pressure. It is like sandwiched between two impermeable layers or confining layers, that is called as the confined aquifer. Then perched aquifer is a type of unconfined aquifer, wherein a small impermeable lens-like body which is present in the unconfined layer, that is called as the, and which will yield water, that is called as the perched aquifer. And Artian aquifer is the type of confined aquifer, wherein it is possible only in some geological situations where the piezometric surface is above the ground level, that is called as Artian aquifer. Then there are few terminologies which you must know, that is, what is an aquitard. So here aquitard means what? first you have understood what is aquifer. Aquifer is a saturated or a large body of permeable material where groundwater is present in the saturated zone. Then we'll see what is aquitard. So aquitard, a saturated strata which yields inappreciable quantity of water compared to an aquifer. So aquitard, in aquitard what will happen? The yield will be less compared to an aquifer. It is an aquifer, but the yield is less compared to an aquifer. So a saturated strata, saturated means there is a water, saturated strata which yields inappreciable quantity of water compared to an aquifer. But what happens here? Through which appreciable leakage of water is possible, that is known as aquitard, or it is also called as a semi-confining layer. So this is a aquitard here, aquitard where water is present but there is a leakage, there is leakage in the aquifer and the yield is less compared to an aquifer. So an aquifer underlain by an aquitard, that is termed as a leaky or semi-confined aquifer. So what is a leaky or semi-confined aquifer? Is the aquifer which is underlain, okay, which is below that, okay, underlain by an aquitard, below an aquitard, that is called as a leaky or semi-confined aquifer. And the permeability of semi-confining layer is usually very small as compared to the permeability of the main aquifer, because it is yielding less quantity of water, it is less permeable, so the yield is also less, and the semi-confining layer is usually very small, okay. The permeability is also very small as compared to the main aquifer, so that is called as an aquitard. Then two more terms, that is aquiclude and aquifuge. So aquiclude is what? Here you can see in the figure, this is an aquiclude. So aquiclude is what? An aquiclude is a saturated bed formation which yields inappreciable quantity of water and does not permit any leakage, okay. There is no leakage, it will have water but there is no leakage. But in aquitard what we saw, there is a leakage also, there is a water also and there is a leakage also. But here in aquiclude there is a saturated formation, means there is a water, okay, which yield inappreciable quantity of water, that is very less quantity of water, and it will not permit any appreciable leakage, it will not allow the water to leak downward, so there is no leakage. An impermeable layer of rock that does not allow the water to move through it, so that is called as an aquiclude. So some type of shale is an example of a sedimentary rock, okay. So shale is an example which will have such low permeability and that have very that they effectively form an aquiclude, means there will be water but there is no leakage, that is called as an aquiclude. Then what is an aquifuge? Aquifuge means it is a hard rock or a rock mass or a rock matrix which neither transmit or it will not store the water in significant quantity, that is called as an aquifuge. Aquifuge means what? Here there is that is a rock mass or a rock matrix which neither transmit nor stores the water in significant quantity, that is called as an aquifuge. So these are the very important definitions you must know. Thank you.